On the last episode of WikiLocked...
Is there a large PNG picture of the new League season behind me? Right on.
Well, that sucked.
I'm making a new character on Runescape, but not allowing myself access to the wiki or any informative plugins. The only wiki pages I can view will be 5 random ones. I will then have to encounter them in-game before I can generate a new one. And unlock the wiki one page at a time. I'm Scramp, and this is Runescape. WikiLocked.
Just a hint to enjoy leagues. Don't lock yourself in the Varrock sewers the whole time. I wouldn't recommend it. If you want to know why, I've made a diary to my insanity, but we're not going to talk about it here. Let's just say we are never ever going back to the Varrock sewers ever again. And that's a promise. I know I've forgotten our goals, so let's check in on what the stars and the random wiki button have plotted out for us. Mining Lovakite ore, which requires 65 mining. And no longer any favor. I'm taking so long to get to goals that the game is actively patching itself to make it easier for me. Building a portal nexus, which needs 72 construction. Acquiring a crate part, which you'd think you could get from any basic packaging store, but instead we will need to boost so many stats and complete so many quests. Using the mycelium pool, which means I need to get 100 museum kudos, complete Bon Voyage, and get to Fossil Island. And finally, assassinating a Tsar Maj. We left the last episode beginning our mining grind to get Lovakite ore. I ended up getting to 20, but then had a come to Saradomin moment. The whole point of the series is to interact with the game without the comforts of the guides and the wiki, and I've been a bit too scared to engage with anything involving a quest or game knowledge. I've been so scared that I was put off by a simple animal fact quiz. So let's go for it. Let's go for Fossil Island. I went to the Natural History Museum in DC for the first time this week, and the vibes were most definitely off. Maybe it was the estimated 5,000 native remains in their clutches that have not been repatriated, or the fact that the dinosaur exhibit was named after David Koch, a billionaire who didn't believe in global warming. It's like having a peace and tolerance exhibit named after Henry Kissinger. All this to say, museums often have pretty glaring flaws and hypocrisies, but I trust that we won't make the same mistakes as we help build up the Varrock Museum to go to Fossil Island. We will need 100 kudos, a favor system of sorts that we gain from just helping around the institution. How everyone keeps that tracked, I have no clue. If this was a real museum, the only actual way kudos would be gained is through lofty donations. We go down to the basement for our first museum task. This tour guide, Orlando Smith, who like most people in, oh crap, how do I pronounce this? Genius? And like myself, I suppose, are completely incompetent at his job. I mean, with a name like that, he should be a movie star. Or a porn star. Either way, he's got the name for it. He's completely messed up the displays for the creatures in the natural history exhibit, and his options are either donating enough money so that the board is okay with it, or asking me to fix it for him. Doing some research on his own? Out of the question. This is the first bit of game I've played where I'm really removing the plug-in crutches, and for that reason, I was incredibly scared. That's incredibly embarrassing because there's no penalties for getting questions wrong, and most of them have 2 obviously incorrect options without any context needed. Mauritanian leeches don't sing. I've never seen them on Mauritanian Idol, and they don't have legs. That would be funny. Did you know that while leeches were used for medical bloodletting until the practice declined after the 19th century, there was a resurgence of it in the 1980s? I take a barely educated guess that camel's milk is more nutritious than its dung, but I didn't know that it can also be made into ice cream and yogurt. But it's much more difficult to make camel butter or cheese. Turns out a bunch of young moles is called a labor, which is pretty cool. They also have extra thumbs, which may help with their tunnel network. Mole mating season has just begun this month, so if you're trying to take down the giant mole, be aware that you may be a cockblock. Penguins are social. I remember enough from March of the Penguins to know that. Though I didn't know that the colonies can be up to several 100,000 penguins in size. Imagine you and 50 of your boys find a great glacier to chill on, and then 200,000 penguins show up and crash. I mean, maybe that's what it's like getting crashed at an OSRS boss. I haven't gotten there yet. Lizard skin is made from hair, which I wasn't sure of, but it sounded pretty familiar, and the other options, as usual, made much less sense. There are a lot of cool facts about lizards, but here's one drinking out of a water fountain. Nice. The oldest tortoise, I guess, is a Mibiwacket, and I'm correct, but the real oldest tortoise in the world is Jonathan, 191 years old, born in 1832, and finally got into a committed relationship with his mate Frederick. So hey, love is out there, even if it takes a second. Dragons are 12 feet tall, of course. Fun fact about dragons is they are sick as hell. So many cultures have myths and use iconography of dragons across the globe because humans, no matter what, when in doubt, will come up with a badass fire lizard to really enhance a story. The wyverns in Runescape died out from climate change, which means this digital natural history museum takes climate change more seriously than the actual Natural History Museum in DC does. Thanks, David Koch. Guess that Karamjan monkeys have red mohawks? I just think the color would suit them. I don't like how many monkeys we as a species have sent into space. There's no way they knew what they were getting into. We've sent at least 6 monkeys named Albert into space, and they all didn't make it back. Albert 6 was the first monkey to survive the landing, but died 2 hours later. He had a crew of 11 mice with him. Where's that animated movie? The museum has never examined a live sea slug because the researchers keep going missing, which is just a wild thing to admit to the general public in an exhibit. Snake venom is adapted from its stomach acid. Bill Haas, the owner of the Miami Serpentarium, injected himself with snake venom to grow immunity towards snake bites and lived to 100. Survived 172 snake bites. And finally, snails move by contracting and stretching. Some of them also mate by shooting love darts at each other, like a sort of sexual laser tag. And we tell all of these interesting and strange facts to Orlando and get 28 kudos for the museum, as well as 9 Hunter and Slayer. Okay, maybe knowing about mole balls, camel yogurt, Jonathan, and snail sexual laser tag won't help you if you need to complete the natural history quiz, but I think it will come in handy in the long run. I try to talk to the rest of the Varrock Museum faculty to see if they have any jobs or hints for me to gain more of these kudos, as animal facts I guess can only get you so far. He doesn't have anything helpful to say, so I try to pickpocket him, and that doesn't give me anything helpful either. So it's time to do our first quest in this WikiList account, the dig site. That will allow us to clean the finds on the first level of the museum, which should get us quite a few kudos. But before we get into that and help out the museum, we need some skills. 25 thieving, of course, this is a museum after all, and 10 herb lore. To even start the herb lore skill, we will need to complete another quest with Druidic Ritual. But let's first get the necessary museum skill of thieving and looting out of the way. So let's go to where I think many people curious to steal gain their first thieving levels, the mall. The mall we will be shoplifting from is the outdoor market in Ardoon, which I think you can buy items in, but I mostly know it as different shoplifting stations scattered about. As long as you stay in just the right spot, I can infinitely pocket cakes and breads. And there's nothing security can do about it. Like a mall no-chase policy.
Even if they see me stealing, they can't chase me.
Sir, those shoes can I get you a different size, or?
See, he gotta keep giving me great customer service. That's all he can do.
Hey, excuse me, sir. Hey.
Except they do have a chase policy if you leave the safe tile, which I do, and a hero in rune equipment does almost murder me as I lose my spot. I'm sorry, this is what the heroes in Ardoon are doing? They're just Paul Blart, but in high-end military equipment. It's like if Paul Blart wore riot gear and carried a shotgun. I don't die, which is great because that would be embarrassing, and I finish up the grind with 25 thieving. I drop off the airport au bon pain amount of pastries into the bank, and go off to Taverley to start the Druidic Ritual quest. Basically, the stone circle of dark wizards that have been sniping newbies outside of Varrock since the beginning of time are bad, shocker, and they'd like me to help purify the stone circle. I mean, I'm happy to do it for all the newcomers that will be attacked in the future. I go talk to Sanfew up in this lovely druid hut. He says I need to collect 4 different kinds of animal meat, and then dip them into the Cauldron of Thunder in the Taverley dungeon. Try to punch out a cow to get our first cut of meat, but damn, the cow has hands. We'll have to come back with actual equipment. The chicken, even though it is a direct descendant from the dinosaurs, does not. We get our first meat. We gear up in our mithril armor that helped us survive an onslaught of angry bird people, and upgrade our weak bronze sword to an iron longsword, which is also pretty useless, but it's all the money we got. We've blown our internet safety windfall pretty quickly. On our way to go take on the bear, I taunt the wizard circle, which is about to get purified. I think I'm no longer weak enough to be attacked, but I am wrong, and run away. We take on the bear, which is a higher level than I thought. I don't know why I dropped all the cakes into the bank, because it ends up being a really close fight. And then the bear, at its few remaining hit points, just taps into something primal and holds on, ends up being one hit away, and then it kills me. That's embarrassing. I pick up the cow meat on the walk of shame back. I return with the cake boss amount of cakes, which, much like everything the cake boss does, is real overkill, because I only need to hit the bear one more time. And that's our third piece of meat. I should be able to also loot my dead body for my meat, that should count, but the cowards at Jagex won't let me. Giant rat also goes down, getting us 11 strength in the process. And our druid barbecue prep is complete. On the way back to Taverley, I decide to start the Romeo and Juliet quest. Juliet is exactly on my way, so I put up with Romeo's romantic incompetence and just walk into Juliet's house and then room. She gives me a letter to give to Romeo right away, and that I will not do. I think giving them more time to think about what they really want in a relationship will be good for the both of them. I mean, this isn't Jonathan and Frederick we're talking about. We get into the dungeon, and the cauldron is right there. We try to open the door, and of course, can't be that easy. A suit of armor comes out to attack us. And of course, can't be that easy. Takes more than 4 minutes to take this assortment of inanimate objects down. And we get to our goal, a cauldron of what looks like Mountain Dew? This is like neon blue, and is called Thunder, which is the most Mountain Dew flavor name I've ever heard. So we marinate our meat in Mountain Dew until it's sky blue and smells like a LAN party. I give the sloppy soda steaks to Sanfew, and he says to go back to Kakimix to introduce me to the wonderful world of herb lore. Is that it? That is it. We complete our first quest. Not bad at all. Who needs the quest helper? We get 3 herb lore and realize a real tricky grind is ahead. Herb lore is essentially your drug skill in RuneScape. You take wild herbs that have either medicinal, mental, or physical properties. If you're a regular account, you can just go to the Grand Exchange and buy as many drugs as you want. I have to start my herb lore empire from the ground up. Even Walter White honestly started with like 35 herb lore because of his chemistry knowledge. Honestly, he's practically a Nepo baby. Every notable drug dealer, Nepo babies. Okay, well, I mean, actually, it says that Pablo Escobar did grow up in poverty, but do you know who are Nepo babies? The hippos that he brought to Colombia and are quickly growing in size and went from 4 to now over 120, becoming an introduced species. That also reached sexual maturity faster than African hippos? So these are Nepo drug baby hippos that know how to fuck. Sorry, where were we? Oh, yeah, herb lore. We have to start our empire from the ground up. And just like starting a real drug empire, you have to go to places you'd swore you never go again. The sewers. I don't want to start establishing my farm just yet, and I don't feel like I'm a high enough level to get some consistent herb seed sources. So I think of a low level enemy that drops herbs. And all I can remember right now is the zombies in the Varrock sewers, because that's how I spent the last few months. It's kind of all I can remember about the game. So great, we slowly start taking them down. We're just going to train our offensive combat skills, because we kind of avoided that to initially focus on being a defense-heavy bird sponge, almost like a scarecrow. So now we can get the strength up. Funnily enough, we get the Gravedigger random event, where another incompetent RuneScape employee needs us to temp for them. This time, it's a Gravedigger that has mixed up everyone's graves. You can't remember which one is which. Even though the tombstones don't even have names, they just have a picture of the deceased's profession, and then they're buried with their tools. The chef is actually buried with food, which I feel like is the worst idea. But whatever, hey, I'm not running the cemetery, I'm just working here. And as a result, I get a shirt and shoes worn by presumably the deceased. Great, what a perk. I get my strength to 15 and 1 Marentil herb before I realize I should probably get better equipment. The speed of this grind will depend on what weapon I have. The more people I kill, the more drugs I get. That's simple Scarface logic. And right now, my little friend is pitiful. Please don't say hello to my little friend. So it's time to run a little grift. We're going to be running into the wilderness and picking up steel plate bodies and then selling them for a profit back in Varrock. A classic scam. The old lava maze plate body scam. I get a little hurt on the way over, but it's alright. I've brought quite a few shoplifted cakes this time. And then I just hop worlds and get those bodies. We run out there with 12 steel plate bodies, including the one we're wearing. And we sell them all for almost 15,000 gold. Now that's feeling pretty good to me. We can buy a black longsword now, which is the best we can use, and then also upgrade to mithril and adamant once we hit 20 and 30 attack. I get back to the sewers to find someone is cannoning my precious rats, like some kind of underground emu war, but we ignore it and get back to the zombies. We keep going until our attack and strength are 20, and we have an okay herb collection in our inventory. Now we're done for the zombies, and for real, I mean it. We will never be back to these sewers again. I've remembered that there's a better enemy for herb drops, the Chaos Druids. I don't know what exactly makes them chaotic. I mean, it's hard to be more chaotic than having a carnivore gamer juice barbecue to purify a stone circle, but they're the chaotic ones and will be our suppliers for the first 10 herb lore levels. I'm gonna hope that getting 15 Guam herbs and 15 Marentil will be enough just to get us to 10. I try to go to their hideout in Ardoon, but I forget that I need 45 thieving to break in. So I panic and hope that they're in the one other place I think they are, the Edgeville dungeon. And they are. I start to take them out, incredibly glad I don't have their haircuts anymore, and they are dropping herbs much faster for us, and even vials of water as well. They are dropping drugs and paraphernalia. At the end of our first inventory, we get a looting bag, which will be a great sack just to drop the herbs into, especially to collect the higher level ones that won't be as important right now. And we keep at it, gaining more and more herbs and 30 attack, letting us equip our adamant longsword we've bought with our hustle money. Eventually, we fill up our pockets and sack with fresh herbs. We end up with 16 Marentil and 16 Guam leaves. Some already turned in liquid form, so comfortably above what I hope will need to get us to level 10. We go back to the Druid Hut for 100 vials of water, grinder, and 100 eyes of newt, just to set us up for life. Might as well buy in bulk. We make a bunch of attack potions with Guams and newt eyes, which look Gatorade-esque. If the folks at Gatorade could legally advertise their sports drink as an attack potion, I think they would. These get us up to 7, so I'm pretty sure making 16 anti-poisons will get us beyond what we need. But first, we have to collect those materials. Ground up unicorn horns. It's kind of a given in a fantasy world that we would hunt unicorns for their horn and profit, but that was also the plan in medieval days. Unicorn horn powder, or alicorn, was sold specifically to cure diseases and detect poisons, so Jagex, historically accurate again. We are learning a lot about animals today, folks. We grind down 16 unicorn horns, and might as well pick up a cadaver berry for whenever I care about going back to help Romeo and Juliet's toxic situationship. We make those anti-poisons and get so close to 11 herb lore, but that's alright with me, because now we can finally start the dig site quest. We run over the earth science test exam to begin our studies and meet a museum lecturer, researcher, and examiner, and asked to take the earth sciences test. She immediately tells us to go back to the Varrock Museum to get approval letter stamped by the curator. She says he'll be a good judge of character, which worries me because we have tried to pickpocket him already, but it's worth a shot. And it doesn't take much convincing. He likes that I was proactive enough to ask him. We run back again and we are ready to take the earth science exam. This isn't your traditional standardized test with a fun abbreviated name, like the Dig Institution Readiness Test, or DIRT. Instead, it's an oral exam with 3 questions asked to me, and while they seem pretty simple, my character does not know the answer, and my choices are 3 incorrect answers, with varying degrees of closeness. First question, can you tell me what earth sciences is? Which is, of course, the study of planets and history of worlds. Question 2, who is eligible to use the dig site? Professors, students, and workmen seem right. But I think the test makers are trying to trick us, and it's technically magic users, miners, and their escorts. Final question is about the safety procedures at the site, an important one. That's going to be protective clothing must be worn and tools kept away from the site. Those are dangerous. The examiner has to check how we did, even though it was 3 questions and she designed it, and then is shocked to find out we flunked it. So we need to study. But thankfully, there are tons of books around that will help us answer those 3 simple questions. I go to check out a book, but all the helpful ones have been taken. I guess the only ones left are competitive worm charming. Maybe that'll come in handy in my level 3 dirts, but not this one. So we run down to the actual site to pester the students for some knowledge. And surprise, surprise, they need me to do something for them. The first student lost an animal find and wants me to retrieve it. He says someone must have picked it up. Rather than ask everyone around the site if they've seen a small animal find recently, the way to go about it, I guess, is obviously pickpocketing the worker near the student. Get some leather gloves, which is great, I can use those. I get caught and punched in the face. Don't let that stop me. Get a brush, get punched in the face 3 more times. Try to talk to him to see if there's a simple conversation we can have about the missing animal. But nope, we can neither talk about that nor the 4 failed pickpockets and 4 successful punches to the face. Keep diving into the worker's giant pockets. I mean, these must be cargo shorts. I think the only way to come to terms with all the items in RuneScape NPC's pockets is either literal pocket dimensions, or that everyone just wears cargo pants and uses every available pocket. His cargo pants have more gloves, 2 shovels, and more, until I find that animal skull. I bring it back to the student, who has fully watched me steal his skull back and get repeatedly punched for it, coming back with a black eye at least. And for that, he tells me the simple definition of earth science. I ask the second student for help, and she needs me to find her lucky teddy bear. And honestly, no judgment here. Cool that you feel confident enough to take your lucky teddy bear around you to archaeology college. I mean, a bit wild that you'll also bring it to an active dig site. But that's alright, we can find it. It looks about the shape you'd expect a college-age girl's teddy would be if it was also discarded in an active dig site. We give the bear back, and she teaches us the proper safety procedures. That leather gloves and boots be worn, and proper tools be used. Incredibly simple. Really could have guessed that. Also, I'm worried for these students if each of them can only hold down like one of these sentence-long definitions. I find someone named Melissa to talk to. Maybe she could be helpful. She's an expert on Third Age architecture, which all I know about the Third Age is they have really valuable clue drops. Her expertise at the moment, though, does not come in handy. I look over at the boat they are preparing to head out to Fossil Island. All of this is just to ride on that boat. I mean, just a simple donation to the museum could have me on it and my name engraved on it as well. The WikiLocked boat for fossils, task completion, and animal facts. But that's not what the stars have planned for me. In order to get on that expedition, I really need to prove myself as an academic and adventurer. I need multiple degrees to head out there. I talked to the final student who has lost his cup. I guess all these students are so focused on their studies, which is memorizing a single definition, that they are really letting their prized possessions get away from them. Not promising in that archaeology is all about the careful preservation of prized possessions, but I'll help him out. He says he lost it near the tents. I go in and see a panning tray, so I think it's pretty likely his cup has gone into the river. I go to the pan for the cup, and the panning guide says I can't pan. And this isn't because I haven't taken the Panning Aptitude Nexus, or PAN for short, it's just because I'm uninvited. It's like the cool kids table at the cafeteria. He will let me pan if I get him a cup of tea. So I guess it's back to Varrock then. I mean, I suppose if it was really like the cool kids table at the cafeteria, I would need to get him a zebra cake instead of tea. I'm already tired of this back and forth, and I feel like it's just the beginning of it, so I decide to get a helpful teleport. I go home to Lumbee and run over to Drainer Village and buy a Chronicle and fill it with some teleportation cards. I don't understand what this item is exactly, but it will make trips to Varrock a lot easier, as it drops us off right in front of the Dark Wizard's stone circle, which I guess just smells like a carnivore land party now, and has done nothing to stop the Dark Wizards from hanging out there. Buy a cup of tea from the ye old tea shop, and run back to the dig site. Give it to the guide, and begin panning. I immediately find the cup. I was expecting like a souvenir mug, but it's actually a pretty nice ornate trophy. I don't know how you can lose this giant antique in the river, but I guess it was because this student was studying incredibly hard, learning that the only people that can use the dig site are those that have passed the earth science exams. Yeah, no shit. I knew that before starting the quest. That's why I'm doing the quest. It took you weeks to figure that out? Wait, and how did you and the other students find the artifacts then, if you haven't passed the test? Let's just ignore that and go up and ace our first test. And we do it. We get our certificate for level 1 Earth Sciences. That's a bachelor's, baby! All it took was 3 incredibly simple questions. I would hate to see how simple the OSHA certification is here. I'm confident enough to go right into the second test, and it's the same situation as the first. I immediately flunk it. I go back to the other students and learned about proper sample experimentation, that I should wear gloves and be careful around finds, and that I should use a rock pick carefully. That's enough to get us our level 2 Earth Science Masters. I'm feeling so confident that I try to go for the final exam again blind, and again get every question wrong. So it's back to the students. I learned about brush usage, that I should handle bones carefully and keep them away from other specimens. It's like every answer to these questions is just carefully. I could just say carefully for every answer and I would ace this. And then I go to the final student for help, and I guess finding her most treasured item will only give me 2 simple answers. And now I have to go get her an opal. Back to panning, get some gold nuggets. If I can't use them to get test answers or bribe my way into the museum's good graces, they're useless to me. And then I get an opal. All of that to find out that samples should be cleaned and put in jars. Carefully, I presume. That's some expert information. On our way to our final dirt exam, I get another testing opportunity from the random event. And this one is slightly trickier than the Earth Science exams, because it requires finding 3 objects that fit a theme. I passed that test, getting another degree in objects. I use the Book of Knowledge reward to get my herb lore up to 11. Then it's time to ace the real test, the final Earth Science exams. And I do, gaining, until anyone tells me otherwise, a doctorate in Earth Science, and being careful. That's my 4th degree in 40 minutes. RuneScape's learning institutions are great. The examiner says I should use my skills to find an artifact in the dig site. So I guess that's the next move. I go to this large open dig site, but I need a rock pick to use it. And while I know how to use a rock pick, spoilers, carefully, I do not know where to get one. I start digging through the specimen tray to see if one's there. I just find some artifacts and bones. And I guess I don't know what else to do with the bones, but bury them for prayer? Which doesn't go against any of the dig site's rules? I mean, that's a wild thing to imagine someone doing at a real dig site. Wow, look at this find! The skull seems to be a perfect middle ground between a Miocene hominid and a current Homo sapien. And no, what are you doing? All right, take this skull, O Lord, and give it to baby Jesus. No, this is the missing link we're looking for. You can't bury it. Baby Jesus, here's a skull for you. Wrap it in your embrace. Swaddle it in your little baby blanket, oh Christ, oh Lord. No, you can't do that. That's not baby Jesus. Take some of these big dino bones, bring back these creatures of Eden, and maybe right on top of them in a little baby saddle, oh Jesus, oh Lord. Where did you get those? Were those from the museum? Lord, baby Jesus, take these sinful books as well. The only earth science we need to know is that the earth is flat like a Bible and made of your love. What are you talking about? How did you pass the exam? But it was easy. They never said that you can't bury bones to the Lord, baby Jesus. And they never said the earth is round. Shit, you're right. Hey, don't say the Lord's name in vain. I didn't? I try to dig in one of the level 1 sites, and I do forget one of the very few rules I learned and didn't bring leather boots. Since the workmen don't have any extras of those in their big pants, I teleport back to Varrock to buy some, and then also a cape and apron to dress more for my new job. I walk back fashionably, start digging in the site, and immediately find more leather boots. Great, just more junk in here. Broken glass, rusty swords, teeth, and old tomatoes. Are we sure like this isn't just like a dump? Like the shag carpet in a hoarder's house? I go over to another patch of dirt and try digging there, and it's more of the same junk. So we teleport back to Varrock again to see, with our exams passed, if we can go into the special find area of the museum that for sure has a rock pick. We can't. We need to complete the full quest. So we just watch as they use their rock picks from the window. I run back to the exam center again and just start opening every chest. Nothing. The examiner is no help anymore, just tells me to get digging. So I get back to digging. I go to the patch all the way in the back that I hadn't tested before, and I get some better finds. 3 black helms, and then a strange talisman. The fact that the game points it out to me lets me know I think this is what I was looking for. I bring it over to Terry Balando, who lets me know it is a talisman to some god named Zeros, whatever, lore. Ah, here we go. He will also let us enter the private dig shafts. Why we care about this, I don't really know, but whatever it takes to end the quest. And then I check the cabinet right next to him and finally find that rock pick. I go to one of the shafts, but I need something to get all the way down to the bottom. I guess they don't provide ropes to their students or workers, so back to Drainer Village to buy some rope. Get back to the dig site and drop down to find a pretty grand chasm that's just casually underneath here, and then some large bricks or rocks that are blocking me off from like a party of skeletons. I don't know how up on the surface they can't hear the sound of like the monster mash playing faintly from underground. Talk to myself to move the quest plot along, and then say that maybe someone can help me move these bricks out of the way. Helpful stuff. So I start talking to the workmen to see if any are fans of explosives, just going up being like, "You like bombs?" No bites. The students just talk about how I'm famous now. Okay, well I'm famous, then maybe you can help me make a bomb here. Alyssa is still no help. Terry Balando won't help me make a bomb, neither will the researcher. So I drop down into the other chasm and find someone new. Someone that's just stuck underneath the dig site, I guess? This Doug Deeping fellow? Doug tells me about someone who worked in the other shaft, working on an explosive mixture. And there we go! He left in a hurry because he saw something that scared him to death. The skeleton party that's happening beyond the bricks, obviously. Maybe he was just hurt that he wasn't invited. He had also been writing a book about the bomb juice he's been working on, so that's perfect. We get a key for the chest in the tent and head on our way. Inside the chest is a strange powder. That's definitely something explosive, so I take that. I try to go through the library to find the bomb juice book, but it's just the books that were too boring for the earth science students. Like a self-help book on how to remember where you've put your belongings. I try to pan for the explosive materials and don't find anything. I check the specimen tray again, nothing. I go back to the big shaft and see that there are some Arsenio roots on the ground. I take those in case they come in handy. I show Terry my strange powder and find out it's ammonium nitrate, which just sounds explosive. And it is. You know something's dangerous when there's a wiki page of incidents and disasters involving it. I'm a bit lost here at the moment, just hoping anyone will help me build a bomb right now. Okay, also, as I'm recording, just to say the FBI agent that's listening to me through the phone or whatever, this is a bit, it's for a RuneScape video series, it's for a quest. You're probably familiar with the game because I'm sure you're playing it on a second monitor while you listen to people's phone calls. I just keep running back and forth around the dig site. I then figure out how to open one of the barrels near the tent with a trowel. But I need a container to put this mysterious, dangerous substance in. So back again to Varrock, empty out some of our water vials, and then fill it with a mysterious liquid. Terry lets me know this is nitroglycerin, another toxic explosive compound. I told my parents when I was a kid that RuneScape was educational, and I am right. Teaches you weird animal facts, how to match photos, and how to make explosives. I put the ammonium nitrate in with the nitroglycerin, and I hope that's enough to get us to blow up these rocks and crash whatever skeleton monster mash they have going on in there. It isn't. I travel back again to Varrock to get a tinderbox to spark the explosion, possibly? I try to test it out in the Varrock bank. Not a good idea, but it doesn't work anyway. I'm still going nuts that I haven't found that book. So I make sure I check every single bookshelf, and then finally, the one in the back corner has the one on chemicals. It gives me the recipe, and like every online recipe I've read, there's a little short story in the front, but honestly at a page long, it's much shorter than some of the epics I've read just trying to get a chicken franchise recipe. We need ammonium nitrate, check, nitroglycerin, check, ground charcoal, which we have ungrounded from all the times we were digging through the specimen bin, and the last ingredient is unknown, but mentions a certain root growing underground, which we've already grabbed. So, back to Varrock again to get a pestle and mortar, and we make the explosive chemical compound right in front of the Varrock Palace guards, who say nothing about it. We get back to the dig site and underground skeleton rave, blow up those bricks, run in, grab whatever item is in the middle of the party, and get out of there. I go back to Terry Balando, who talks about some lore that isn't important because it isn't about the museum or me getting to Fossil Island, and complete the quest. This really feels like our first accomplished quest, and definitely has me dreading future ones because I'm clearly not as perceptive or thorough as I will need to be. It boosts our mining up to 34, which will make the Lovenkite ore grind easier, and gives us 17 herb lore. After all that, I can finally get some more kudos by going to the fine cleaning area in the museum and cleaning some finds. This is definitely less exciting than our educational explosive journey through the dig site, and we get a bunch of artifacts, including the dig site pendant, showed to a guy who tells us what case to put it in. We do this until all the cases are full, and we have 68 kudos. We've fully made a once-in-a-lifetime archaeological discovery and finished an entire museum exhibit, but that's not going to be enough to get us on our fossil trip. Now it's time for some more quests. They don't tell you what quests you need to complete to get additional kudos from the historian, but I think I remember a few. And they all have to deal with some form of history and like ancient discovery or whatever. So first off, I decided to do Demon Slayer. I've already been trying to take down the Dark Wizards, and this has to do with an ancient sword, so I think this will get us some museum brownie points. We start the quest by going to Eris for a reading. I mean, I'm hoping to hear about my fortune or love life in my future, but you can tell it's going to be a bad reading when it asks if I want to start the demon quest. That's like, hey, can I check my bank account, please? Actually, I'm good. I'm gonna go home. Surprise, surprise, the reading doesn't go well. Eris discovers that the demon Derelith is coming back after 150 years when the hero Wally stopped him. In this vision, I'm holding the ancient sword Silverlight that will save the day, and more importantly, get me some respect at the museum. She shows me a vision of Wally defeating the demon, and he does it by reciting an incantation of like 5 CAPTCHA phrases, which, did you know, was an acronym for Completely Automated Public Turing Test to tell computers and humans apart. I did it. I hadn't ever said the phrase CAPTCHA out loud until now. Well, it looks like I'll need to memorize that phrase, which is doable. It's Perchai Carlem Carenthium Gabindo a bear. Perchai Carlem Camerinthium Gabindo a bear. Perchai Carlem Camerinthium Gabindo a bear. Okay, we can do that. We go to Wally's descendant, Sir Prison, to get the sword. And he's like unsure if Eris is still alive, and it's like, go outside and check? She's right across the street. Does he like not ever go out for Chipotle and just run into her in the plaza? Turns out the sword is locked in a case and needs 3 keys to open it. Great, classic quest shenanigans. Sir Prison has one, Captain Rovin has one, and then Wizard Trailborn has the last. But Sir Prison doesn't exactly have his with him. He dropped it in the kitchen drain that runs to, God, the Varrock sewers, god damn it. Okay, now I feel bad for judging the students for leaving their shit everywhere because it's clear forgetfulness is a national epidemic here. And dropping one of the ancient weapon keys in a sewer is much worse than losing your lucky teddy bear. That's like accidentally dropping the nuclear launch codes in one of those guess how many jelly beans are in the jar buckets. We talk to the captain, who does not want to take orders from us, but especially not Sir Prison, since he's an incompetent nepo baby. And like, I don't see the flaw in that argument. But he does give us the key, after we tell him Prison dropped his down the drain. We go to talk to the wizard, and he needs 25 bones to get the key from this special closet sealed away in a ritual. He doesn't say where the bones need to be from. I take down some goblins, but then realize the hideout of ham racists is right up the road. So let me add some of their bones to my collection. We get some of their racist bones, which, ironically enough, as much as they are against goblins and monsters, their bones are exactly the same size and the exact same worth the little baby Jesus into this fucked up wizard. Like, how about a password or security question or CAPTCHA to get to your secret closet, not the bones of 25 living creatures? We get some more goblin bones and go back to hand them to Trailborn, and we're missing one more. One more bone. If I can get them from anywhere. I guess Trailborn wouldn't mind if one of them was from his apprentice. His brief was too open. So we go for the apprentice and, die. So we show back after coming back from the dead, collect our stuff, and I realize I can now give Trailborn my own bones. So I take those, hand them to him, and get that key. I go back to Varrock and realize in dying, I lost the first key that Captain Rovin gave me, which is especially embarrassing after we both laughed at Sir Prison losing his. Well, thankfully he doesn't remember the conversation, we laugh at Sir Prison again, and he gives me another copy. I didn't think those automated key machines work with secret sword keys, but I guess they do. I pour some water to send the key down to the fateful Varrock sewers, walk down the hallway to nowhere, and pick it up. We give the 3 keys to Sir Prison, get our fancy historical sword, and while the museum folks wouldn't care if the world was saved and would just need the sword, I think in order to get the actual kudos, I need to face down Derelith. So, I head to the stone circle, which has only gotten more powerful since the druids and I tried to cleanse it, since they're now summoning a 150-year-old demon that will block out the sun or whatever evil stuff, but now it smells like what one of those rage bait cooking video kitchens must smell like. It takes more effort to kill the dark wizard that's attacking me than Derelith, but then the real tricky part comes up. Remembering the CAPTCHA, but I still remember it. Perchai, Carlem, Camarinthium, Gabindo, a bear! Quest completed! We tell the historian about us saving the world, and that gets us 5 kudos. About just as much as knowing about camel milk gets us. So we need to do more questing. An early quest that will unlock another region for us, and I'm pretty sure the historian will enjoy hearing about, is Priest in Peril. We talk to our old chunk papa, and now just strange man who rules over us for a quest, and he mentions the priest of Paterdomus, Drezel, is missing. And then he shows us his true royal colors and saying that he would send a squire over, but they would ask for money. The life of an adventurer is often tough. We're medieval gig workers with even less regulation than whatever there is now. But we're not doing this for money. We're doing it for the kudos. Before we continue with that one, I forget if it comes up during this quest, but I feel like I will need the Ghost Speak amulet soon. So we're gonna do a mid-quest, new quest, and complete the Restless Ghost. A real simple one here. There's a sad ghost in the graveyard, so we get a special amulet to talk to him from a priest on a year of rest and meditation. Ghost is sad because his skull was taken. Not by the museum, believe it or not, but by the wizard. So we go back to their tower, bring it back, happy ghost. That simple. Then the ghost spirit just like cannonballs into the river. Hey, whatever he wants to do, he's free. I guess this quest does imply that souls are restless and unfinished when their burial wasn't correct. So that Undertaker was probably being haunted by 5 ghosts that stereotypically represented professions. It's like being haunted by the village people. So, back to Priest in Peril. We walk to the Paterdomus Temple and the doors are locked. We have a wacky little conversation with multiple people. It literally says mysterious voice 1 and 2 and 3, who are all pretending to be Drezel in some kind of evil hijinks that we have no choice but to entertain. They tell us to kill a dog downstairs and we just have to do it.
Gonna kill that dog.
This isn't your normal dog, it's the guard dog of the temple. Like, what species is that? It's got like a horn, thick thighs. It looks like if a pit bull unicorn on steroids got into a muscle suit. We kill the dog for them, let them know, and they're laughing so hard, like they're prank calling a pizza place, and tell us to let the king know what we did. We let the king know what's going on, and he lets us have it. He fills us in on how we were duped, how it would weaken the kingdom from defense, how it would weaken the kingdom's defenses to vampires or some shit, and we have to fix the mess or we'll be executed. I'd like to see him try, but again, we're not doing these quests for the good of the world or money. This is solely so the people at the museum will let us ride the bone boat. So we go back. We find Drezel, who's locked up, and he fills me in on how to pull off this jailbreak. One of the monks downstairs has a key to the cell, but I will also need to take out the vampire that's just chilling in a coffin right here. So after a few Monk of Zamorax, dang, this episode really is anti-monk. Shout out to monks. We get a golden key. So I go to the underground temple to fill a bucket up with holy water to absolutely prank the vampire.
Hello?
The key doesn't work on the cellar door. It's like a similar size, but does not fit. I go down to bust up some more monks, but no dice. I then remember those altars that are around the well, and that may be my, pun intended, key out of here. The altars remind me of a second grade elementary school project you'd see on the hallway walls if there was no separation of church and state. Just like it's little golden objects and then a metaphor about the wonder of Saradomin. Saradomin is the hammer that crushes evil everywhere. Saradomin is the spark that lights the fire in our hearts. Saradomin is the bomb, etc. And then here it is. Saradomin is the key that unlocks the mysteries in life, and the key isn't golden. So we swap that out to get the correct key, prank the vampire, and escape with Drezel. We get down there to meet Drezel, and wait, things still aren't good. I guess the evil magic has infected the river, some sort of vampire pollution, and we need 50 rune essence to soak up the vampire oil spill. So that means another mid-quest new quest. This time, we need to complete rune mysteries in order to get to the rune essence mine to mine our vampire sponges. This one is another pretty simple message delivery quest. The Duke of Lumbridge finds an air talisman that he doesn't understand, gives it to us, and we go back again to the Wizard's Tower, which has been real embarrassing since one of them dropped us in front of Trailborn. This time to Archmage Serador. He acts just like a RuneScape YouTuber when he sees the talisman because he's like, this changes everything. And then the game lets me say I'm not interested in the lore because I'm just trying to get on my bone boat. And it's back to the gig worker messenger job. Now I need to go to Aubrey and Varrock. The first place I was killed was also just a tour of my failures as a player. I give him the delivery, this changes everything, yada yada, and then back to Serador. It's like, have the people of RuneScape not heard of pigeons? I have, hard way. Pigeon could do all of this and not get distracted by having to do another quest or grind or completely drop the important job right in the middle for either hours or fully forever. That reminds me, am I forgetting anything? No. Run back again, give the notes to Sari, and boom, quest completed. We can now mine rune essence. So we go there and pick up 25 of the perfectly smooth plain essence, travel to Varrock and get 25 more. Real cool pocket dimension they discovered here. Real peaceful. I'm surprised like nobody has found it and is using it for like improv practice. And now all we have to do is ferry 2 trips worth of magic scrub daddies, scrub wizards if you will, over to Drezel and we save the world, I guess. Drezel thanks us and then pivots and changes everything I thought I knew about him. He's like, here's a knife. It's blessed by God and kills werewolves. They won't attack you, they're not hostile or aggressive, but with this knife, you can just kill regular civilians. Thanks? I unlock Moritania, so I can finally get the next account goal, entering Mauritanian Idol. We go back to brag about our RuneScape world, yet again to Historian Minus. We really must sound like a kid coming home to tell his parents about how he ruled in gym class. And that's 5 kudos for us. And not according to plan, but we get 5 more points for completing rune mysteries. We are at 83 kudos. We've gotten at least 4 degrees, completed like 6 quests, all without the help of a guide or a wiki. And I only got lost like maybe 4 or 5 times, and even more times you didn't see, I edited around it, but I'm telling you now, we are so close to that bone boat. We'll be hitting the high seas in no time. Thanks for watching. On the next episode of WikiLocked, hi, I'm Scramph, and I'll be singing the RuneScape login theme. Ba ba ba. Ba 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 ba. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, I have a big announcement. Hi, dear viewer. If you watch WikiLocked a lot, this message is for you. No, I'm kidding. I'm not gonna ask for donations like that, even though it's very on brand. Instead, I made a Patreon. I know I haven't been in the game for very long, and for some of those months, I got lost in the game, like Tron mental breakdown style, so in no way do I expect anyone to join. But I do want to start setting one up. I've put a lot of effort into these videos, quite a few sleepless nights, and all support, including you still watching this, is so appreciated. So come on and join the Lumbridge Community Pool, the one and only tier, starting at a single $1. You could give more, but like, why would you do that? At that tier, you can join my Discord, get shoutouts during videos, and get videos a day early. Also, so much more is in store. I'm working on a patrons-only podcast, LPR, Lumbridge Pirate Radio, where me and other unqualified guests try to talk about RuneScape news, give unsubstantiated advice, and more. So come on, jump in, the water's warm. Thanks again for watching. See you next week for more WikiLocked. Am I going to Hollywood?